Can I just get Jain Sinha to respond? Because, Mr. Sinha, while COVID, particularly in the second term of the Modi government, did affect the economy, especially growth rates, the fact is post-demonetization, and we're talking from the first quarter of 2017, there was a slowing down, in fact, across 9 consecutive quarters. Have there been missed opportunities in the last 10 years, which today the finance minister perhaps glossed over? Or do you see it as macroeconomic stability and the possibility of growing faster in the years to come?
So, Rajdeep, let me pick up on 3 points that Shashiji made. The first point that he made, and I think he needs to check his numbers, is when he said that China is growing faster than India. I don't believe that is correct, and he quoted some other countries. I think he should look very carefully at the numbers, because the reality is that India is the fastest growing large economy in the world.
Right.
So I'm not sure whether those numbers are correct. So that's point number 1. Point number 2 about real rural wages. Again, I'm not sure exactly what is the best way to look at rural prosperity. I would suggest that the better way to look at it is rural consumption plus transfers. And that's a very important distinction, because we have major fiscal transfers going into the rural economy that may not show up in wages, but will show up in consumption and will show up in overall prosperity. And these transfers include the money that go through the Kisan Saman Nidhi, which is 6,000 rupees a month. It's the money that goes through NREGA as well. So we have to look at all of these transfers and then do a before and after comparison to see whether the rural economy is doing well. I can only offer my anecdotal observation from Jharkhand, which is one of the poorest states in India, and I can certainly tell you that our rural economy 10 years later is flourishing compared to where it was 10 years before. And this is with a JMM Congress government that is notoriously corrupt and incompetent. So even then, because of all that we have been able to accomplish in the economy, I think when you look at actual prosperity, rural prosperity, you'll find that it has genuinely gone up. And in fact, there's another statistic which says that if you look across India, real incomes have gone up by 50%. So yes, we can play around with the numbers, but again, if you go and you ask people, they'll tell you that their lived experience has demonstrated a very significant improvement over the last decade. And then let me pick up a third point that Shashiji brought up, which is to say that we have not grown fast over the last 5 years. That is entirely because of COVID, because we actually had minus 7% GDP growth during the COVID year and another slowdown the year after. That's a huge hit to take. And obviously, because we took that hit in the last 5 years, the last 5 years of growth is low. But when you look at it over the last 10 years, it evens out quite a bit, and we can take COVID out. This was a once-in-a-century pandemic, which is unprecedented. The global financial crisis, which is what the UPA had to deal with in 2007 and 8, was a once-a-decade crisis. This was a once-in-a-century crisis, and almost everyone has praised the way India handled it at a macroeconomic level. So I think our economic management has been absolutely outstanding.